Guys, welcome into the show. It is sportsbookreview.com. This is your Major League Baseball show for Wednesday, October 7th, 2024 games on the card. All four pitching matchups have now been confirmed. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Jason Radowitz, and we are ready to get after it on a playoff Wednesday edition. Jason, welcome in. Let's have some fun today. 4 games on the schedule. Let's get after it.
Yeah, it should be a fun day. No NBA, no NFL, no college football. This is baseball's day, and hopefully there's some fireworks in the bleachers going in all these 4 games because I'm looking at a lot of overs on today's slate.
No, it should be fun here. I'm looking forward to it as well. You saw some good weather creep in. Yesterday, we did have some really good success. My 2 plays that I gave out yesterday had a winner on the Houston Astros, but a loser on the over in the Los Angeles Dodgers game. I know your banker came in there, Jason, as well. So we have been having some success, and it looks like, joking on Twitter, getting those playoff baseballs and switching them back out for the regular season baseballs makes for a lot more fun product out here. And as we said, we have 4 games on the docket today. We'll get after it. 100 people already watching live, as Jason said already. Baseball takes center stage today, so the focus will be on them. 70,400 people have hit subscribe to the button on our YouTube channel right here. And guys, I got to say, every day it seems like it goes up 150, 200 subscribers. That's a credit to you guys in the chat box. Edwin, Jay, Jason, Abel, EAB, the Jalen, Eddie, Brandon, Steve. Welcome into the show. It's time to get it on. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Jason Radowitz. Why don't we get after it right away? Go right down the list for us, Jason. First game going off roughly maybe about half hour from now. Miami and Atlanta. Lopez on the mound versus Ian Anderson. About 7 out of every 10 tickets here at SPRodds.com coming in on those Atlanta Braves. Opened up at 190, goes to 195s, 196s. Some outlets here in New Jersey, Jason, showing over $2 at minus 205 and even as high as minus 210 and minus 215. Over under 8.5 across the board as we take a look at some pitching matchups, just trying to dissect, some of these pitchers that theoretically, again, are both going to be pitching on the road. If we take a look at Ian Anderson, a 172 batting average, a 255 ERA, a 1.89 FIP against the number, and a 2.98 xFIP. Sensational numbers for Ian Anderson in his limited starts on the road. Then we take a look at Pablo Lopez, 240 batting average against him, 491 ERA, 378 FIP, and also a 427 xFIP. So looking at this, Ian Anderson, to me, the slightly better pitcher. But as we saw yesterday, up 4-1, the Marlins, hey, look, that long shot that said might be worthwhile. It looks like it's really going to cash in. And those late innings, man, the Atlanta Braves really got after it. So you look in that similar price range today. Does it scare you off maybe taking a chance with the Marlins, say that was their shot yesterday, and now the Braves settle in here?
So first off, I want to apologize for the landscapers out there. It's going to be a little bit noisy as I talk, but I am going on mute when Donnie's speaking so you guys can hear him well. But when we talk about this game, Pablo Lopez is the guy that has a 6.39 ERA versus Atlanta on the season. He's had really 1 bad performance, and then he had 2 solid performances on the season. So he's really won 2-1 versus the Braves on the season in 3 starts. So Lopez has done well versus the Braves in the past. It's a tough challenge. The Braves offense has been really good. They've really kind of, been able to get after it later in these games, especially in the playoffs. But when you look at it, Lopez hasn't pitched since 9/24. That game was also versus the Braves. And in that game, he allowed just 2 hits, no runs with 6 strikeouts and 2 walks. Didn't get many grounders in that game. And Lopez is usually known for getting good ground balls. If he struggles getting ground balls in this game, I do think the Braves probably get ahead in this game. Now, the one thing Anderson does struggle with are walks. That's one thing the rookie pitcher has had a little bit of trouble with on the season. Pitched well in his first postseason game, looked really good, looked really comfortable, allowed just 2 hits, no runs, had 9 strikeouts and 2 walks versus the Reds offense, which coming in, obviously they didn't perform well in the postseason, but the reality is he looked good in that game, and that was one of the reasons why the Reds didn't look good, because Anderson did look good. Had a 1.04 ERA versus Miami this season in 2 starts, did go 0-1 in those 2 games, but at the end of the day, 8.2 innings pitched, 9 hits, 2.231 OBA. But like I said, the walks have been high. If the Marlins get guys on base, could potentially score some runs early in this game. But I wouldn't go any other way but taking the Braves in this one.
Yeah, it looks like the Braves should be the play, and I completely agree with your analysis of this. I'm also trying to get some information if that roof is going to be open in Houston today, which not sure. It wasn't open yesterday, but of course the other games were all open air, and even in the game in Arlington, they did pull back the roof in that one. But sitting at 8.5, I guess it would be a slight lean on the under in that spot. And if we're looking at maybe a matchup, just Ian Anderson versus Miami, I don't know if it's enough to sway me even first 5 innings. Obviously, that'll be expensive. Even on a run line, it would be expensive because I still do like the matchup between the Atlanta Bats and the Miami Marlins bullpen. If we take a look at the starting rosters that are out right now, Dickerson, Berti, Aguilar, Anderson, Cooper, Joyce, Rojas, Sierra, and Wallach will be the lineup for the Miami Marlins. If we take a look at the Atlanta Braves, and it stacks up well against right-handed pitching, that's Acuna, Freeman, Ozuna, Darno, Albie, Swanson, Duvall, Markakis, and Riley. So again, we're looking at, to me, the better pitcher on the mound between both of these guys. Jason, I have Ian Anderson as the better pitcher, and I also have as the better lineup 1 through 9, those Atlanta Braves. It's kind of tough, too, because if you're the Marlins, that sneaky team, we're all like sending out tweets like, hey, here come the Marlins up 4-1. Boy, maybe they can really make a run at this thing, that little unheralded underdog, and then they get slapped back to reality. It'd be hard to bounce back today. You would figure they would need to get another lead early in the game to try to get some confidence, because if they get down early and Ian Anderson is rolling, I think that puts them in a really tough spot. 9:15, 9:16, 3:35 will be your first pitch in this one. Oakland and Houston, that'll be at Dodger Stadium. 50-50 ticket split, which is awesome. And almost, Jason, the same type of lines we saw yesterday. -110s, roughly a pick 'em across the board. Opens up at 8.5 and now goes to 9. And I do agree with that because taking a look at the overall pitching matchup in this game, just trying to focus on how these pitchers did on the road. Jesus Luzardo, a 3.38 batting average on the road, an 8.15 ERA, a 7.0 FIP, and a 5.57 xFIP. And then Jose Urquidy, who, when you take a look, or Ikiti, when you take a look at his numbers, a 1.88 batting average, a 2.77 ERA, everything's like, I said, wait a second, he's not giving up many runs. He is a fly ball pitcher. That ball is flying during the day at Dodger Stadium. As you can see by his FIP is 6.19, his xFIP is 6.16. In this game, my best bet in Banker, which again, we'll recap at the end of the show, I actually like the Houston Astros team total over 4, -130 here, but I do think we get runs in this game. I think you get that good hitting environment. You get 2 decent lineups going against 2 pitchers that are giving up the fly ball.
Yeah, I completely agree with the over in this game. And like you said, Urquidy, this is the guy who obviously gets a lot of fly balls, really struggles to get ground balls. Now you're going during the day. Yeah, there's going to be some fly balls from the Athletics, and that obviously favors the Athletics in this game. What I found really interesting in this game is Urquidy actually struggles his second time around the order. He has a 325 average, a 386 OBP the second time around the order. So you're looking at the Athletics to potentially make some noise in that 3rd, 4th, and 5th innings in this game. And I don't like betting off of, okay, this team needs to win a game. I would never bet off of that. But the reality is the Athletics, they're down 2-0. They need this win to survive and to keep going. Luzardo does have a 2.84 ERA versus Houston in 2 starts this season. Obviously, his last start versus the White Sox in the postseason didn't really go as planned. Well, 3 runs, 6 hits, and 3.1 innings pitched. 5 strikeouts and no walks, so he was able to limit the walks at least, and that's what he's been able to do throughout his entire career and this season so far. What's also interesting is if he allows 1 home run, he'll usually allow 2 home runs. If he allows no runs, he'll usually, obviously perform pretty well and go deep in games. I think this is a crucial, spot for Luzardo. I think he'll perform pretty well in this game. He's already looked at Houston twice, performed well against them. Different field, different everything, and you could expect more runs in this game. But I would just like the Athletics to score more runs in this game, especially in the first 5 innings. Urquidy does have a 3.00 ERA versus Oakland in 1 game this season. The OBA is just .100, but he did walk 3 and just had 1 strikeout in that game. In that game, the Athletics actually won 3-1. Matt Olson hit a homer, a 2-run homer in the 6th inning off of Urquidy. But the thing is, righties actually hit 292 against Urquidy on the season. So the Athletics will likely have 6 righties, maybe 7 righties in that lineup, plus Olson, plus La Stella. Maybe Lamb will be the other lefty in that lineup. I'm not sure if the lineups came out yet, but there'd be a Lamb or another righty. So Yeah, you're looking at, again, a 292 average against righties this season with a 358 OBP. And then also, Olson already has a home run versus Urquidy this season. So taking all the righties who hit 292, then you're taking Olson, LaStella, two guys that obviously Olson has the home run versus him, but LaStella, one of the better hitters, especially from the left side, just pure hitter. And then if Lamb is out there, if he does get a shot, he's had a really great September. I would assume he continues out in October if he does get that start in this game. So I like the Athletics back in this game. I do think the Astros might score a run or two, but again, this game I would assume goes over. But the Athletics should be able to score in the third, fourth, and fifth innings. I think that's enough to get the job done in the first 5 innings. So I'm going Athletics first 5 as my official play.
2 lefties in the lineup confirmed today, Jason, both LaStella and Olson. The rest will be righties, so you are getting 7 right-handed bats. This lineup goes in order: Simeon, LaStella, Pinder, Davis, Olson, Canha, Piscotty, Laureano, and Murphy. If we line up that Houston Astros lineup, which has also been confirmed: Springer, Altuve, Brantley, Bregman, Correa, Tucker, Gurriel, Diaz, and Maldonado. I like the over in this game. I think it gets there. Even watching the last start with Urquidy, who pitched very well against Minnesota, every single ball was a fly ball, and that was a day even with the wind blowing out to right field. The Twins just came up lame in the postseason. We'll see if those Houston bats and those Oakland bats can wake up. And again, you're talking about much better conditions here. You're talking about mid-60s that we were talking about, and like some rainy conditions last start for Urquidy up in Minnesota. That's not going to be the case out there in LA. And as we saw from the first couple of games so far, that ball is traveling. And if you can hit home runs, you can certainly cover some team totals and some overs. 9:13, 9:14, 7:10 first pitch East Coast time, mid-60s%, I guess we'd say, of tickets coming in here on the New York Yankees with Tanaka on the mound versus Morton. If we take a look at the line, opened up offshore at -120. We're now seeing -125s, -127s, as high as -136s at some outlets here in New Jersey. And again, an over-under of 9 that opened and still sitting at 9s across the board. We saw yesterday a nice game, 7-5, 12 total runs in that one. Everybody pretty much happy if he took the over, obviously, but also if he took team totals from both sides. Jason and I both thought Tampa Bay would have the edge in that game, specifically in the first 5. And it's funny watching that because Giancarlo Stanton hits that long bomb. Like, here we go. They're up 4-1. Now it's, 5-1. And now it's, right on it, 5-4. And I'm like, just hang on for that first 5 winner. They were able to get that done and also hang on for the rest of the game, because one point we brought up is if you like Tampa Bay first 5 yesterday, it'll be a toss-up in the second half of that game. And it did get a little bit crazy with a couple guys on base, but Aaron Judge wasn't able to get the job done in a couple of those instances. But now we have a new day out here on the mound, and take a look at these 2 pitchers coming into this ball game. Again, based off road starts, Masahiro Tanaka at 2.33 ERA, a 3.64 xFIP on the mound, and Morton with a 3.18 and a 3.90 xFIP on the mound. So one would think you would need 10 runs to beat them, Jason, but playing in San Diego, in Slam Diego, as I like to say, that ball's leaving the yard quite at an unheralded rate for us here. Does it continue today?
Well, I think it's interesting because you have Charlie Morton here. This guy was the 8th pitcher last year. Now he's dropped down to their 3rd guy. But this is a guy who doesn't allow too many home runs. But we said that yesterday about some of the pitchers, and they let up some home runs because the difference is they're in neutral sites with good weather in good areas, and we're seeing the ball start flying. The thing is with Morton, righties are hitting 304 on the season. Of course, he's limited home runs, like I just said, but the Yankees, they have so much power on the right side. If they can get on base, you just expect these guys to score some runs, especially on the right side. You have, LeMahieu, you have Judge, Voit, Stanton, Urshela, Torres. I mean, the right side just goes on and on and on. And with that said, can you guys hear me?
I got you. Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, yeah. So Morton, this is a guy, like I said, used to be an 8th pitcher. Now the 3rd pitcher for the Rays. Obviously, has had plenty of postseason success earlier in his career. And so we'll have to see how this goes. He hasn't pitched in quite some time. His last start was 9:25. He's only went 4 innings versus the Yankees in 2 starts. So 4 innings and just 2 starts. That's his pitch count got high in both those games. In one game, it got to 50 pitches in just 2 innings. So really, what you could Morton will only go 5 innings. He won't go any more. We know that the Rays are quick to go to their bullpen when a pitcher is struggling or when a pitcher's got a high pitch count. They're quick there. So Yeah, for more, he'll go 5 innings. He might have a good performance, might not. It's really hard to assess. He hasn't pitched in quite some time, but does have success, and he is a veteran pitcher that you can kind of rely on in these spots. Tanaka, on the other hand, we talked about him. Tanaka is a postseason GOAT, but did struggle in his last start against the Indians. But there was a monsoon there, had a rain delay, then had a pitch in the rain, then had to come out back after pitching in the rain, then started to really kind of, gel and start, pitching well through 3 more innings and kept the Yankees in the game. And the Yankees ended up winning that game because Tanaka was able to kind of keep him in the game, even though he allowed, multiple runs in that first inning. So I think Tanaka, he's the guy that kind of gets better throughout the game. He'll struggle early, but he'll kind of really figure out and find his rhythm later in the game. So if Tanaka is able to get through the first 2-3 innings and have to face the Rays for the second and third time through the order, he'll pitch better. He gets better as the game progresses. So especially if the Yankees, if they're tied in the first 3 innings, or they have 1-0 they're losing or something, I would take the Yankees on the live line. I think the Yankees, when Tanaka's pitching later in the games, he pitches better. And the Yankees, obviously, they've done well against the Rays bullpen. You can't really rely on that bullpen anymore against the Yankees. And, Charlie Morton, like I said, he's not going to be going more than 5 innings. And I'll probably eat my words tomorrow. But, again, he probably won't be going 5 innings in this game, or more than 5 innings in this game, because his pitch count gets high against the Yankees. And, again, he hasn't pitched 6 innings in any start this season. Same with Blake Snell. Again, the Rays, they're very quick to go to their bullpen with their starters. So, again, I like Tanaka in this matchup versus Morton. I like the Yankees in this game. But if I were to take the Yankees, I'd take them in the full game at -127. I'd also take the over 9. I do think both these bats get going later in this game. And for that reason, I go over 9 in this game as well, and over on the team totals for both teams for sure.
No, I agree with you there on the Yankees, because when you're taking a look at, Yankees first 5, it does make sense. But don't you want the Yankees bats over the length of the entire game? Yeah. Because that's where we're going to come back. It felt like yesterday they were getting blown out multiple times in that game, but yet they kept on bringing the winning run to the plate. And we do know, if you have Aaron Judge up enough times, or Giancarlo Stanton enough times up with 2 guys on and a chance to actually tie or take the lead, they're going to eventually be able to overcome that. Yesterday was the game that you thought Tampa Bay had to win. Now they take that deep breath. They're going to get Masahiro Tanaka on the mound, because you do bring up a good point when you talk about, Morton on the mound and how long he's going to go. This isn't like going up against, let's just say, the Pittsburgh Pirates offense. You are grinding every single at bat in high leverage situations against the Yankees, because the lineup they're going to roll out today versus a right-hander, 8 of the 9 batters have extremely elevated weighted on base averages. So when you're taking a look at guys on base constantly, this isn't a breeze where, hey, boy, he put some good wood on that for the Pirates, and outside of like Colin Moran, nobody can hit a home run. Just about everybody in that lineup can go deep, and there's going to be some high pressure situations. So I completely agree with you on that end. It's hard not to just take the Yankees at -125 in the spot, and that's the way that I would lean here as well. Let's keep it moving at night here. Head down to Arlington, San Diego, and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Is this just the same old Padres where they're that little fun-loving team during the season? Maybe they can do damage. Hey, can they chase down the Dodgers? And the big brother Dodgers just say, hey, you know what? It's just not going to happen. It's not going to get by. So you saw yesterday an easy victory by the Dodgers. It was a close game for a while, 1-1 heading into the late innings, but the Dodgers pull away, hit their team total, win another run line game, and here we are back to normal. Clayton Kershaw goes back on the mound today, the lefty, to go up against Zach Davies. It was just confirmed right as we were going on the air today. Over-under across the board at 8.5, but you got a heavy price to pay if you're going to back Clayton Kershaw today. -218 at Pinnacle, -220 at Chris. FanDuel sitting there at -220 as well. If we take a look at Clayton Kershaw on the road this year, Jason, we say, hey, look, he gets a nice pitching environment out in Chavez Ravine, but take a look at this. A 163 average against him, an ERA of 184, a FIP of 237, and an XFIP of 298. That is absolutely sensational. So when you take a look from a pitching aspect and you're going to pay a price for that, isn't that what you want? When you take a look at Zach Davies going on the road, not too bad, though. 206 batting average against him, 239 ERA, 340 FIP, and a 426 XFIP. So he should be able to hang around, but it's just a matter of what price you want to pay for the Dodgers, because it's one of those where you look at it and say, I'm going to get Kershaw on the mound. He's probably going to get a good effort. I know I'm getting those Dodger bats. Is it worth taking a shot on the Padres, or you just say, you know what, Dodgers bats, I'll take those all day?
So we saw earlier in the season, Kershaw allowed 3 runs in 6.1 innings pitched versus the Padres earlier in the season. And that equates to a 4.26 ERA versus the Padres in one game this season. So the Padres had some success versus Kershaw Obviously, that still qualifies as a quality start in that game. But Kershaw still struck out 9 batters in that game. Also had a 1.84 ERA on the road this season. Getting solid ground balls, solid strikeouts. I do think Kershaw has a great game in this game, but the Padres can definitely scratch out a couple runs in this game as well. And you look at Davies, had a really bad outing versus the Cardinals in the postseason earlier in the season. Went 2 innings pitched against the Cardinals, 4 earned runs on 5 hits, 1 walk, and 3 strikeouts. Does have a 2.39 ERA on the road in the regular season, 2.54 versus righties in terms of average. Had a 3.46 ERA versus the Dodgers and had an 0-2 record in 13 innings pitched. So Davies lost both games that he pitched versus the Dodgers earlier in the season. In 13 innings pitched, he just allowed 5 runs, 10 strikeouts. Wasn't terrible in either of those starts, but still got 2 losses in those games. So this game probably starts off in a low scoring under affair, and then kind of probably we'll see some runs with the bullpen. And therefore, I'd probably recommend under 4.5, or it might be even 5 at some spots, but maybe 5.5. I'd recommend under in the first 5 innings, and then also obviously I like the Dodgers, but I don't know how I would pay for any of that. Just knowing the Padres, they're not terrible versus lefties this season. Obviously, the Dodgers are better against righties this season in terms of batting, but there's room for the Padres to definitely score some runs in this game, and that's why I look towards the over in the full game, but the under in the first 5. So it's a little tricky. That's why I'm probably not going to be touching this game, and it's a late night game. I'd rather get some sleep, which I probably won't. I'll probably end up watching the game because it'll be too exciting. But the reality is that this game, it's really hard to judge. You think the Padres will definitely kind of turn the corner in this game, obviously losing that first game. But the reality is playoff Kershaw, we talk about it all the time. He was fantastic in his last start. I don't see how he's not fantastic in this one. It's just the Padres' bats are a different breed. And once they show up, they show up. And that's what you have to watch out for. So be careful if you're betting on this game. It's going to be a fun one, but I think there's other edges, other places you can look to get better positions than this one. But that's just my take.
There might be other places to look on the internet, but it looks like 330 people are looking right here at us live here on sportsbookreview.com on our Major League Baseball show. We do thank you guys for spending Wednesdays with us here. A lot of guys coming up with some fire in the chat box, going back and forth. And this is great because typically one of those days that might be a lazy day, we're getting a lot of nice baseball. And I love the fact that they're putting it on during the day. And not saying, hey, well, let's put the first game on at 4:07 and stagger the night games. It's really nice. You got the 2 o'clock game, the 3:35, the 7, and the 9 o'clock game. Set you up nice today. Baseball comes back tomorrow. NFL action on tomorrow, and we're going to set you guys up for a great week. But now it's time for our best bets and banker bets. Yesterday I gave out 2 bets myself on the best bet line. Went 1-1 in those games. Today I'm going to stick with a team total. I'm going to look at the 3:35 game, 9:15, 9:16 between Oakland and Houston. I think they both can get runs here. So I think the over is going to come in, but the side I like even more will be those Houston bats. And just about 2 weeks ago, Jason, I would have never been on this side, but now we're seeing those Houston bats finally come to life. You're getting them out of that dingy dome where the air conditioning is on. We're not playing up in Oakland where there's 2 guys on second and third and somebody fouls out in that 100 miles of dead space out in foul ball land. The ball is carrying today. I think they can get over their 4 runs today. I'm going to take the quote-unquote home team, Houston Astros, today. Their team total over 4, -130 is my best bet and banker of the day. Jason, take it away. What are we looking for today in your best bets and bankers?
Yeah, so I'm on the other side here. I got the Athletics in the first 5 at -110. I don't disagree, though. I think both teams will definitely score some runs, and I think you'll see that later in this game. I just think Luzardo versus Urquidy, I think there's an edge there for Luzardo. When it comes down to the Athletics, I think they'll really do some damage in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th inning versus Urquidy. And like you said, this is a guy doesn't get too many ground balls, really struggles to get ground balls, and a ton of fly balls in this game, especially now they're a neutral site, right? They're not in Oakland, they're not in Houston. They're they're in a spot where the ball will definitely carry, and we've seen that. We've seen Chris Davis fly balls leave the yard already twice this season in the postseason, which is just kind of scary because he's been awful all season.
Yes,
and now he's getting some fly balls leaving the ballpark. And that's just what the Athletics have. They have a lot of power bats that can put it in the air with good barrels. And I expect the Athletics to really come prepared in this game, especially down 2-0. Again, I don't bet on that because they're that's a must win for them. But I am betting on the fact that I do think the Athletics have the edge here in the pitching matchup and hitting. Like you said, the Athletics, they do have 7 batters from the right side. Your Quiddy, almost 300 average against righties this season. And then the 2 lefties hit well against righties this season. Olsen definitely has a ton of power against righties, and Listella hitting 303 against righties this season as well. So there's a ton of pop in that lineup for the Athletics, and I definitely think they got the job done in this one. So again, Athletics first 5 at -110. It's official. It's a banker, and that's the play of the day for me.
Urquidy, Fly Ball City. We'll see if those balls leave the ballpark. I do think they will today. So another great show here on a Wednesday, getting over hump day to lead into Thursday, which have a lot of stuff. And Jason and I, guess what? We will be back once again at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow to bring that baseball fire to you guys as well. Thanks again for tuning in. Over 350 people watching live. 70,400 people have hit the subscribe button. If you haven't done so yet, please turn that button from red over to gray. Turn your notification bell on. When Jason and I talk Major League Baseball, you'll get it delivered live right to your inbox. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Jason Radowitz. We're sportsbookraview.com. And this was your Major League Baseball show for Wednesday. Good luck, guys.